Hi, and welcome to A Window to Bourne. I'm your host, Mavis Robinson. I've got my co-host, Captain, here today, and joining me today is the immediate past president of the Bourne Historical Society and general man about town, Skip Barlow. Skip, thanks for being here.
Hi, Mavis. Thank you so much for having me today. It's going to be kind of a different day today. You had some different questions for me than normal questions. I usually get a lot of questions about shellfish and things like that, so this is a different perspective.
Yeah, we want to talk a little bit about your role in the Bourne Historical Society and some recent changes there. And so first, I introduced you as the immediate past president. What does that mean, past president? Is it just like, now you're gone, see you later?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The woman who was president when I came in was Judy Reardon.
Yeah.
And she was the past president for years, all through my term. And I always look to her for advice and guidance, and there's a lot of responsibility associated with that position. And it's really kind of odd because Judy just contacted me yesterday because she's still involved, and
Yeah.
I'll still be involved.
Yeah.
And she's with the commission, and she's doing the paperwork to get the Aptuxet Trading Post on the National Register of Historic
great.
Places.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that, she has to gather up a lot of information. Now,
Yep.
she's the past president.
Of the
Like
Historical
I am.
Society.
Like
Yep.
I am.
Yep.
I'm the immediate one. She's one away. And she asked me a question about the height of the flagpole.
Mm-hmm.
And she had guessed it on the application. And I said, oh, no, I thought it was less. And I actually went over and measured it last night, and she was a lot closer than I was. Really. And,
Yeah, yeah.
But she's still involved, and she's not been president probably for 8 years. So 8 years from now, it's just as likely that I'll still be involved.
Yeah.
Because you do provide a lot of guidance. Obviously, I make mistakes, but she's not so. She's better than I am.
She knows her stuff. She
knows
really
her
does.
stuff.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's an important part of our crew.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that was interesting to me and that I wanted to bring to light is that the title past president really is an official title. And it doesn't mean, oh, you just used to be president, but it's really an honorific, meaning you've served your terms and you've stepped down and let somebody else take leadership, but really those past president positions are people that we rely on heavily. Dudley Jensen is a past president.
Absolutely.
Judy Reardon gives us so much and offers so much guidance. And
Thelma Loring did too. Thelma stayed very involved, and she was particularly advisory on the bylaws.
Yeah,
She was a real stickler about that. Different past presidents carry different things that they do. I've been more involved with hands-on stuff at Aptuxet. That was kind of my thing. And
well, let's
I
talk
work
about
closely with Ted.
Yeah,
Worked really closely with Ted Ellis, who's the head of the Building and Grounds, who's been on the board just about as long as I have, and he's been really involved. And we've done, not just we, but ourselves and other members of the board, men and women alike, have brought a lot of new stuff to the campus.
Well, you started off, you talked about the flagpole. And I don't think that's anything that we've ever really talked about or, tell us about the flagpole. Why is it special? Why are we measuring it?
The flagpole was a handmade flagpole made by a fellow named Mert Long from Miami Beach, who made sailboats, sailboat masts, and he made flagpoles, and he made the fence on the green down in Falmouth.
Oh, for the museum on the green?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did that probably 70 years ago. He made that fence, and actually Billy Wright helped him install it.
Okay.
Billy Wright just passed away, but he was on the Historic Commission for years and a member of the society also. But that particular flagpole, when the town decided that the Hoxie School was surplus.
So that flagpole served at the Hoxie
It was at
School.
the Hoxie School.
Okay.
It was the Hoxie School pole.
Yep.
It was Sagamore Grammar School pole, actually.
Okay.
That's what it was back then.
Yeah.
And we went immediately to the selectmen. Ted and I and Neil Angel talked about it. We went immediately to the selectmen, asked them if it's surplus, would they allow us to have the pole to move it to Aptuxet to preserve it? And they said, oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, it was snowing out. It was wintertime. It was awful. and the next day, Ted and Neil and I all went down there, had a little van, and we took that pole down and during a snowstorm, put it in the van, sticking out the window on the front.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was about 18 feet, but it was about 22 feet tall.
Yeah.
We put it in there, and we took it.
And that's one of my favorite things about Uptuxet. It feels like it's not just, I mean, the Trading Post really is our biggest thing that people are interested in having a tour, but there's so many little pieces that are also historic. And that flagpole, somebody might think, oh, we just went and bought that at Home Depot to fly our flag, but that, the pole in itself is a little piece of local history. And it's the brick garden is in now too. We've been talking about building a memorial brick garden for a couple of years, and it's now in place, and it looks beautiful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it all came together.
Yeah.
At the time we grabbed that pole, we hadn't moved the railroad station yet.
Okay.
So we didn't have a place for the pole, but we took it because we knew we were going to have a place someday.
Okay, so the railroad station was up close to the Trading Post.
Right, it was next to the Trading Post. So
yep.
we got the CPA money to move the railroad station up where people could see it.
Mm-hmm.
When we got the foundation dug and we got it there, then Diane had this idea about the brick garden, which would be memorial bricks similar to what they have in other parts of town. But our brick gardens are granite bricks rather than red bricks.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it's on a historic site, it's always going to be there. It's not like a school, like the Cody School. It was a school for a while. Now it's something else.
Yep, yep.
These are permanent. So when we dug the foundation, got the railroad station moved, at the same time there was a fellow there with a post hole digger. Ted and I punched a hole, and we got a base for the pole, and we put it in at that time. And then Diane had the brick on it. We just all came together. We just brought all this stuff together. So the pole wasn't up for 2 or 3 years. Then it went back up on a really good location where you can see it from Shore Road.
Yep.
It's right by the railroad station. And it's an authentic pole made in this town. Goes with Grover Cleveland's railroad station, although it's not this exact same vintage. It's very close.
Right. And Merton Long is a well-known figure that people speak very fondly of. Yeah.
He's kind of we had some local legends in town. Merton Long was one of them. Bucky was one. Raz Parker was one.
Yep.
But, there was a number of people through the years that created things in this town that are going to last for hundreds of years. They really are.
And I love, the brick garden is an opportunity for any individual to honor their loved ones. My father-in-law has a brick there, and it was really beautiful to see his name, permanently etched in that granite brick. And then as we lose important people from the Historical Society, we've been adding their names to that garden, which really it's a nice. I mean, we call it a garden. It's really sort of like a patio type thing, and it's almost full. We're going to need to expand.
Well, the plans do expand to go to the railroad station, and there's a walkway expansion, and Ted's got it all laid out in his mind. We rely heavily on Ted to create things in his mind, and then we put it together.
Yeah.
And sometimes I contribute, sometimes Dick Anderson contributes, sometimes it could be you, who, Ted will talk about something, and we talk. And we're kind of long-term planners, because, even though we're old and we're all, we plan things out sometimes 4 or 5 years in advance.
Yeah.
And we get them done. It's crazy.
Yep. Well, things move slowly, but eventually, you can't do anything significant overnight.
People don't realize how long it took to do that, and how the railroad station's pretty much done, and the brick garden's pretty much done, and the pole is done. Now, our next project.
What's the next project? Yeah.
Well, in that series of projects, we decided that before the town bought the Lyons property, the Lyons family told us we could take what we wanted, and we went and looked, and we saw the swimming pool enclosure, which was huge. It's 50 feet by 22 feet. And we said, sure, we'll take that. And they said, you go for it if you think you can.
Yeah.
And it was a all I-beamed frame building with fiberglass panels, and had 10,000 bolts in it.
Oh, wow.
And it took Ted and I and a couple of my grandsons about a month to take it all apart and physically carry it through the woods from the Lyons property next door to Uptuxet. And we stored that for, I'm going to say, it took us 5 years to raise enough money to get the foundation to put it back up.
Yep.
We didn't lose anything. We had all the panels, all the beams. We put that thing back up.
All the bolts.
All the bolts.
Wow.
Yeah, but we said we'd do it, but it took us at least 5 years to do that project.
And that's the pavilion. That's that pavilion that
yeah.
we can see it. Yeah.
And a lot of people in town contributed money to help us get the foundation in,
Yep.
get the panels in, and get the sides back on, because we
Yep.
put new sides back on because they were all deteriorated. But it was a long project.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the interim, we created a replica of a colonial schooner during the winter months.
Yeah, tell me about that. A lot of people
That was-
ask about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
During the Revolutionary War, there was a group of characters from Pocasset. Sandwich was the center of the town at that time, and
Right.
Barlow's Landing and Pocasset was kind of the fringes of the town.
Okay.
And there were these boys, their father had just passed away. It was 5 brothers in a family that were kind of renegades. You know, they did what they wanted.
Yeah.
They had inherited all their father's boats, and they had 4 or 5 different boats. So as the war was breaking out, all the local ports were embargoed from going to any of the East Indies and getting spices or anything.
Oh, right, yeah. And
So,
salt and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything was going to be, it was going to
Yeah.
be tight. And these boys in Pocasset, they saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. They were young. They were in the late teens.
Uh-huh.
And they figured that they were going to sail down to the West Indies and get spices and things like that.
Yeah.
And make some money. And the Sandwich Selectmen were aware of these boys, and the Sandwich Selectmen at the time, one of their meetings decided they were going to send the sheriff down to take these boys' sails away from them.
Oh, wow.
And he was Ward Swift. He was the local sheriff.
Yeah.
So they sent Ward down to Pocasset, to Barlow's Land. And at that time, you came right across the base Serpentine Road, so it wasn't so far to go to Sandwich.
Right, right.
And they sent him down in his wagon to take the sails. And as he got to Barlow's Land, and everybody was waving as it was sailing out of the harbor.
Too late.
Too late. And,
Yeah,
and they did.
yeah,
They went. These
yeah.
boys went to the West Indies, and they came back. And by the time they got back, of course, the war was really going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
So it actually made their cargo even more valuable because.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
It-
was it the size of the sloops? Was there something special about the design of the boat that made it easy to kind of slip in and out of?
yeah, well, they were small coastal schooners.
Yeah.
And they were sloops. They weren't big sailing
They weren't
sailing
galleons.
ships.
Or,
Which came into play later on in our history. But
Yeah.
they were coastal sloops, and they would trade in just locally Nantucket. But these guys, they'd go anywhere, and they didn't care.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
they were just
Yeah.
like, you know, they were kind of footloose and fancy free at the time, kind of like teenagers are now.
Right, right. These 5 brothers, are
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Are they Barlows?
Yeah, they were Barlows.
Okay.
They were.
Yeah, and that's why Barlow's Landing was called Barlow's Landing.
Yeah,
and-
there was a lot going on there at the time. But those 5 brothers, all as time went on, all went in different directions. But during the war, they were close, and they were very involved.
Yeah.
But when they got back, of course, then they got a colonial, like a privateers commission from
right.
from the Massachusetts colonial government.
Yeah.
And then they would.
They were pirates. It sounds
Well,
like.
Nantucket remained British during the war.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they needed their whaling permits, and
Yep.
they didn't. They were loyalists to the Queen or the
Yep.
King, and so that was a British settlement right there.
Yep.
And of course, these guys had
Rebels.
privateers
Yeah,
commissions, and
yeah.
so they would go to Nantucket and loot the stores,
Oh, wow.
and they had their commission, and the people on Nantucket really couldn't defend themselves because these guys would go in muskets and
Yep.
cannons,
Yep.
and they everything was going really well.
Mm-hmm.
They were bringing a lot of stuff back from Nantucket, and they were doing really well. And this
Mm-hmm.
went on for a few years, and then one shopkeeper decided that enough was enough, and he told them, get out. We're going to arm ourselves, and we're going to,
Yeah.
this is the end of it. And one of the, not a Barlow, but another member of the crew, drew his pistol and shot him in the gut and killed him.
Ooh.
And this really changed things. Now the residents managed to get a hold of the British. And they sent a warship into the harbor to protect them, and it just got really different.
Yeah.
The next time the Barlows went down to
They
see
were
what they
ready.
could get for goods,
Yeah.
they had some serious problems. Their ship
Yeah.
was badly damaged. They were driven out of the harbor. They did survive. They did go back and catch the British sloop, a British warship. It was a frigate, and they brought that back to Falmouth, and That was,
You mean they captured it?
they captured it.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
They did capture
Oh
it.
my gosh, what an amazing story.
Yeah, and the British, the colonial government sold that off.
Yeah, yeah.
So they did capture that ship, and it was
Wow.
one of a few captures. There wasn't a lot of captures during the Revolutionary War.
Right, right.
So,
So you have actual pirates in your bloodline.
well, according to the history of Nantucket,
Yeah,
they're pirates.
Yeah.
According to the history of Massachusetts,
they're
they were
privateers.
privateers.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
But the people on Nantucket were very bitter about it, and they were very, it wasn't like there was just a battle there. They sailed into Nantucket, they tied up the pier, they were getting off the boat. The people on the pier had aligned a bunch of barrels and kind of a barricade that they could hide behind, and they attacked they attacked the barrels on the ship.
Yeah.
The warship came into the harbor, so they had no place to go, so they had them kind of trapped there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it got kind of crazy. And,
Yeah.
I wrote a book about that once upon a time. I do, and that book's still,
Is it still around?
it's still, oh yeah.
Where would somebody get a book?
The library, actually,
Okay. What's the name of it?
The Battle in Nantucket.
All right.
And there's a revised edition of that coming out that's not
And
even around.
you guys at one point, the Historical Society did a little, like a performance of that battle. Is that?
We did.
Yeah,
we did,
a recitation. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually brought in a bunch of characters that represented the shopkeeper's daughter, who was really angry. He had two daughters that were really angry that he had got killed, and they were the ones who got a hold of the British captain, and they worked to set this trap up, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of.
What a story! That's so
yeah,
amazing.
It is an interesting
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
And I didn't put anything about the girls in the first original part of the story because I didn't have all the information. When I wrote that book, it was in the early '90s. It was the first book that I wrote. I had a pretty bad accident at that time, and it was kind of therapy for me to write that book.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds stupid, but I was having a lot of problems, and it was therapy. It was something for me to do.
Yep.
To do the research, to put it together, to write that book, and then I carried that on into 2 environmental tales, and then I wrote some other books. But
Yeah.
it really isn't about the books. It's about the history.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Well, we the Historical Society, we do that pirate festival almost every year in the spring. And gosh, we don't have to, like, everybody thinks about pirates as being Pirates of the Caribbean and, those, arg, buried treasure. But like the privateer situation around the Revolutionary War, and the fact that we have actual local residents that were involved in that, and what a dramatic story. It really, history is more interesting than fiction.
Yeah, and there's just a little bit additional with that boat. I don't want to spend all day talking about the boat, but the boat's cool to look at. But the figure on the bow, there's a little story about that.
Okay.
Ted and I used to walk through the woods back and forth to the Lyons property almost daily because we were walking over to that house and working, and this is before the town bought it, But there was this big white pine tree that was, really big white pine tree. It was like this round. And it came down that winter during a storm. And Ted and I'd say, Ted, there's somebody in there calling to me. They want me to set them free. And Ted would laugh, and I'd say, and I really had never done chainsaw carving or carbon or anything before.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at this thing, and finally I cut out a piece of that log that was about 3.5 feet long and brought it home and put it in the yard, and I would look at it. And in my mind, I thought, wow, there's a young maiden trapped in this piece of wood, and I've got to set her free. I'm not, just joking around. So one day I got my chainsaw and I started playing with it, and I realized that this was not a young maiden, and I was really working at it. And these guys that were involved in the Battle of Nantucket, their grandmother was Jane Bessie Barlow. Jane Bessie Barlow was a woman who was a real character in the 1600s. And she made liquor. That's what she did. She made liquor. And she would make liquor, and it was for seamen and different things. Different local taverns used her liquor. She made very good at it. And her husband was a real drunkard, and he loved it. And there's a whole bunch of stories about him and her. But she eventually was convicted in the Plymouth court of in 1668 of selling liquor to the Native Americans, and she was put in stocks.
Oh, wow.
And she was really
Was it illegal to sell, or just couldn't sell it to
Native Americans.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she was convicted of that and found guilty of that. And she had a real good working relationship with the Native Americans.
Yeah.
You know, they would help her and she would help them, and everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really tormented badly, and women spat on her and threw rocks at her. And
Yeah.
she was putting stocks down in Sandwich, and it was a bad situation.
Yeah.
But somehow, in that log was a likeness of her.
Really?
Yeah.
That's who? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
as I began carving this thing, I realized it was her.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
Yep.
people love it. She's just she is
yeah.
so tough looking.
Yep.
She's not this is not a bow, you know, something on the bow that's a
Right.
sweet young maiden.
Yeah, you usually
Tough.
picture like a little buxom mermaid or something.
This woman is tough as nails.
Yeah, yeah.
And she shows it.
Yeah.
And you know, people love it.
Yeah.
And she's got a look in her eyes that people comment about, like she's real.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
I'm not an artist. You know.
Well,
I'm not. I really ain't. But you know, we did this thing. We put it on there, and it worked out pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, people. I love that carving. I think it's really that's a work of art. So
It's different.
You know, you might not be a professional artist, but you
Yeah,
accomplish some real art there.
Speaking of art,
Yeah.
I don't want to get into this, but the fellow you interviewed on the last show,
Tim Cole. Yeah.
Tim Cole, Tim Ellis Cole,
Yep.
is doing that passageway under the tracks
Yep.
into Aptuxet. And I just went by there this morning. Now he's on one side. He's really created a beautiful mural, and
It's
I would
incredible.
encourage anybody to drive in there and see the mural. And
Yeah.
the one on the other side is going to be just as beautiful.
Yep.
But this is a ship, the Lagoda, on the sea at night. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is. It's breathtaking to see
Yep.
this. Now he is really talented.
He's really good, yeah.
Really
yeah.
talented.
And it was
So-
amazing watching him work. I drove home last night. We had a late meeting, and he was out there at night with a spotlight, you know, getting
Yeah.
some detail done. I mean, he's really been
You know.
working hard, and anybody who's contributed to that has
I'm telling
really helped out. Like, he had a lot of support from the community, too.
Yeah.
And,
What an asset to the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Just really, if you go down Shore Road and you see that, I don't care if you live in Sagamore Beach, drive up and see it. It is so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and I love what he did. Like, you know, instead of he got a little bit of seed money from CPA funds, but also he just asked for, like, you know, $10 to $20 from from everybody, and so it feels like it's a real community project.
It is.
So,
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
That's
And
it'll be a nice entrance.
I didn't
for,
mean to change the subject,
No,
but
no.
that was, you know, I saw the show.
Yeah.
I saw your interview with him. He hadn't started yet. He
Yep.
went in, he put his base coat. I happened to be working over there the last couple of weeks doing different projects. And wow.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
it's
it's
really
unbelievable.
beautiful.
You really, it's worth taking a ride to
Yeah.
see this, folks, especially this time of year when things have slowed down a little bit.
Right,
If
right.
you're riding around town, go check that out. This
Yep.
is beautiful.
Definitely. Hey, so while we're talking about ships and schooners, and something is new at Uptuxet that has to do with a ship. There's
yeah.
a ship cabin. What can you tell us about that? And
Yeah, that deck cabin.
the deck cabin, yeah.
Yeah. There was a fellow in town named Alan Douglas. I'll give you a little story on how we got it.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Douglas lived on Barlow's Lanham Road. He just passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Real local fellow, salt of the earth. He built the stone wall
That's
at,
right.
at Briggs McDermott.
Yeah.
He's just a real big asset to town. Well, he knew that across the street from his house, in this old shed, that this deck cabin was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was, and I'll give you a little history on it. So he saved it. He saved it and had it moved across the street. He got a hold of us and said, "Hey, I got this old deck cabin if you want it."
Mm-hmm.
And we said, "Sure, we'd take it." And again, he told us this probably 6 years before we actually took it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Ted and I went down and looked at it, and we said, "Oh yeah, we'll take that." All covered up with canvas and signs, and wow, time flies.
I know.
Yeah, so we made the decision that we'd take it, and it took us, like I said, 6 years to do it. But
Yeah.
the history on the deck cabin was it had been built in 1850 for Jesse Barlow and Maria Ellis.
Okay.
They were married.
Yep.
So she was Maria Ellis Barlow, like
Yeah.
yeah. So and so the ties go way back.
So
but
1850. So it's about 100 years after those colonial sloops, the
Right.
revolutionary sloops were. Yeah.
So it was a bigger ship.
Yeah.
3-masted coastal schooner.
Yeah.
It was built on Long Island, but it had a really big deck cabin. It was
Yeah.
big enough for 4 crew people to stay in it. It was 14 feet by 12 feet, and of course the bunks were under the deck. So it was built in 1850. Well, when the Civil War broke out in the 1860s, the whole sphere of coastal trading changed.
Okay.
You know, it became, they wanted less crew members and more deck space.
Yeah.
So they took that cabin off the boat at Barlow's Landing and made a business office out of it, and they put a deck cabin on the boat. I think it was a Columbia, which was half the size.
Yeah, yeah.
So they could make more money because they had to make money.
Okay, so less room for the crew, more room for the cargo.
So they put the deck cabin on the pier, they made a shed out of it, and they converted it to their business office, and this was the Barlow family at the time. They ran Barlow's Landing. And they were pretty cheap. They didn't pay. The unions were just coming into being at the time, and they paid the people that unloaded their ships.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, not a lot.
Right.
Mere pittance.
Right, right.
Well, at that time, during that same time, they were allowed to form unions. They were beginning the Longshoremen's Union. And Barlow's Landing at that time was a pretty active port. These guys were getting cents an hour. I mean, cents, not dollars.
Right.
Just pennies an hour. And they decided they were going to strike. There had never been a strike in this country before.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were forming their union, and they struck against the Barlow's shipping company.
Yep.
And that was the office that they struck.
Oh, wow.
And they doubled their money from the strike.
So they were successful.
They were very successful.
Yeah.
They managed to get these guys to cough up twice as much money to pay them. But eventually that deck cabin was moved off the pier.
Yep.
When Barlow retired, he put it behind his house.
Yeah.
At the carriage house. And then his wife died, he moved it to his next house.
Yep.
And they made a little carriage house out of it, and it sat there for over 100 years.
Right, right.
And when it was going to be knocked down, Allen Douglas saved it.
Right, and then it showed up at
and we have it at Uptuxet, and we have all the documentation to go with it.
Oh, wow. You know, I knew it was a deck cabin. I didn't know it served as the office of Barlow Shipping at that time. And the piece of the sort of first labor struggle there is really fascinating.
Yeah, and the
what a piece of history.
The cabin still burned from the wood stove, when they had the wood stove inside, when they had it on the pier.
Yeah.
You know, they had a wood stove in there so they cut a hole. There's a hole for the mast to go through, and they cut another hole where they had the stovepipe through.
Yeah.
And they actually, it's charred around that stovepipe.
Oh,
it's
wow.
pretty cool.
Oh, I'm going to check that out next
Yeah.
time I'm there.
Yeah.
So, Skip, I just have one favor to ask of you. Would you please come back? You have so many good stories.
I'll come back anytime,
All right,
you know,
all
but
right.
I want to thank you for an opportunity to share a little local history.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll tell the rest of the story about how we got that cabin there. And Ted and I did Ted and I, 100 years from now, people are going to look back and say, how did those guys do what they did? And it wasn't just us. I say Ted and I, but it was Ted and I and Bob Nelson, Neil Langell, Dick Anderson. There's a whole host of people.
And all volunteers. We rely on
and
volunteers.
all the women, Thelma.
Yep.
Just a huge amount of women who would come and help us. And you know, Diane Flynn, and Judy Flynn, and
Yep.
even yourself. I mean, this weekend you had a yard sale. You guys all work. It's just, it's a whole group of people that pull things together. And Judy Reardon gives us a lot of guidance on how to get things done, especially politically.
Yep.
You know, and we need all the help we can get because you bring everything together.
Yep.
I guess we got to go.
Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks
I'm going to
for
want to
having
talk
me.
to you again because you are full of great stories. And thanks for sharing these stories.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. And thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you next time on A Window to Bourne.